Bring smiles to the world, we're hitting first base. Marty, Lurie with friends, home run. You know the ways and the trends of stories all with the match of the block. It's Marty and friends. Marty and friends.
All right, great to have you with us as we're getting ready for the post game. If things go well, and for the Giants in the ninth inning, another great game. Well, what a weekend series this has been. We're going to go to the top of the ninth. The Giants just scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th. It's what they do. They hang around. The great bullpen today, picking Verlander up, and now we're going to go to the ninth inning and see what happens here if they can sweep the A's. So joining us, Rick Smith. Rick, great to have you with us.
Good to see you, Marty. Eric.
Yeah, and of course, Eric. Eric, tell us about your show while we're waiting.
All right, yeah, we got I do a show called Giants Sports Talk Live. We do post games after every game, and then during the off season, we do Giants related and then baseball related stuff. But yeah, you could catch us on Giants Sports Talk Live. Usually we go on between 8 and 8:30 at night Pacific. So yeah, we have a good time talking Giants baseball.
All right. Well, Ryan Walker is in, so that's
all right.
He is.
Yeah, Ryan Walker is in, and he's going to face Urias to start it. Urias has a lot of power for a little guy, doesn't he?
He does. He does. I mean, I remember him when he was with the Milwaukee Brewers, and he always had a little bit of pop, and I was surprised they actually didn't stick with him. So, yeah, how about that?
Yeah, he had a bunch of home runs when he was with the Brewers. So, first one, line drive to second base. Okay, so Walker's got the first out in the ninth inning. Well, this is a big win for the Giants if they can hold on to this thing.
Interesting was that Oakland was hitting before this series. They really were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it just shows you how good the Giants' pitching has been, especially the bullpen.
Yeah. Well, look at. I mean, Verlander today. We'll talk about him. Had nothing really from the first batter, but lasted 4 innings and only gave up, the couple of runs, and that was it. I think Verlander's line. 4 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 5 walks, and a strikeout.
5 walks.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 walks. That's what kills them. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, the A's had plenty of opportunities to put up some crooked numbers. They didn't take advantage of it, so he was able to navigate some of that disaster that he was creating. So, but still, not sharp at all. And his velocity, I think he was sitting like around 93. A lot of his times his fastball was sitting at 91. So, yeah, there's something going on.
Well, 2 out, fly ball to left. This is interesting, choosing Duvall or Walker to close this thing. Walker is the closer and really never lost his job. They did use Duvall a little bit, and, they took Walker out, gave him a little bit of a breather. But I don't think anyone ever said, the guy lost his job.
Yeah.
Well, are you saying that if they were all rested, in the bullpen, that the closer would be Walker?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they demoted him. He struggled, and he did have a couple of blips along the way, but I think he is the closer. Duvall is ready. Let's face it. He's ready at any time when they need him. But I'm looking at the screen here. There's 2 out. And Walker's in there. And we've got looks like a pinch hitter, Lurie. And that's it. Walker struck him out. All right.
Yeah, that's kind of a big outing for Walker. He'd been struggling. It seems to have it back together. And boy, that bullpen is fantastic.
It is. That's a sweep. Yeah. That's a sweep for the Giants against a tough A. The A's are no slouches. They swing the bats. I think you talked about that.
I agree.
Yeah, huge win. The Giants come back with 2 in the 8th to win it. So, all right, this is our post game. Larry Krueger is going to join us supposedly. He's out there somewhere. Ryan, is Ryan around? Have we seen Ryan yet?
He said his computer froze up, so I'm sure he'll be out there somewhere.
Okay. All right. All right, let's talk a little bit. All right, first of all, Rick Smith, Eric, me, Larry Krueger is going to join us on this post game. The Giants win it. They sweep the A's. They win it 3-2. 2 runs in the 8th inning, and get it done. All right, Ryan's around somewhere because he put something in.
There he is. Yep, there he is,
All
right there.
Yeah. If you're watching, as Eric explained this, make sure you hit the like.
Yeah,
right?
Make sure you sub. If you like it, make sure you hit the like. Make sure you hit the notification bell when you do sub.
All right. Let's start this way. Let's look at the series, this old Bay Bridge series, and what do you think about it? I'll start, Rick. What do you think? The A's played the Dodgers, got walloped 2-3, came in here, and what do you think of the series?
Yeah, I think it's baseball at its best, and the Giants at their best. They just showed that the strength of the team is that bullpen and timely hitting, and Wilmer, obviously. But I just think it really illustrated how good that bullpen is. Boy, I mean, that's as good a 3-game series you can pitch, really. And the A's, up until they went to the L.A., were a pretty good offensive team. Oracle Park is not a great offensive ballpark, but I give all the credit to that. I don't give much criticism to the A's. I just think the Giants pitching in the bullpen was just terrific.
Yeah. Let's jump to Verlander a little bit because it's fresh in my mind of watching him today. I thought from the first or second batter, he looked like he was struggling a little bit with his arm. Mm-hmm. He never felt didn't look comfortable to me. He never had command of his fastball, and he threw like 84 pitches and I think only 41 strikes, something like that. So that's ridiculous. It's his first bad one after a few good ones. But Hicks has been demoted, and Birdsong is coming in Tuesday. I think it's worth watching Verlander. Now Verlander will go against Washington over the next weekend in Washington, so he gets a little bit of an easier touch. But he's still on the road and he's got to face Washington. I think it's worth watching Verlander and seeing what he's got. I didn't like what I saw today from him.
No,
but he's been pitching well in the past. The only concern today would be the velocity, right? I mean, he just didn't have the same velocity.
No, he didn't look right.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if it's a tired arm. I think it's either his 10th or 11th start. Right, his 10th start. So I don't know, maybe a little bit of fatigue. Maybe he's getting a little bit of a dead arm. I don't know. He is 42, so they're gonna probably have to keep an eye on that. Maybe he has to go on the IL for a dead arm. I know you could go on the IL for that. So maybe he needs to skip a start or two and maybe get back to the Verlander that you're kind of used to seeing.
Well, of course, with Melvin, they're very reluctant to change anything. And it took a lot to get Hicks moved back into the bullpen. But I think for Verlander, for me, it's worth watching after watching what he did today. Ramos, big game for him today. Big hit, drives in the big run, the lead run in the 8th inning. And he started the game off with a home run. You look at hitting on this team. They're not hitting great. We know that, but they hit when it matters. And then, as Rick says, with this pitching and especially the bullpen, they get it done. But Ramos is still hanging in there. I believe in him. I really do.
Yes. I love Ramos right now. He's taking the bull by the horns. He's going out there and he's getting it done while other guys are kind of slacking. Jung-Hoo Lee he's not striking out, but he's not also getting a whole lot of base hits recently either. So it's nice to see another guy stepping up. Of course, Rick, I know your guy, Wilmer Flores. I mean, the guy has just been having a hell of a year. I mean, he's healthy. He's having them in the DH position is perfect. I don't want to see him at first base too much just because, it may affect his bat just a bit. But man, if it wasn't for the
interesting. But you know what? When he plays first, I don't know what the stats are on this. When he plays first, I know he hits. I wonder if that's a factor. I wonder if you want to put him out there once in a while just to see if there is a difference. It would be for me, but I mean, a few years ago, to play the field as well as to hit. It just seems to be a different brand of baseball. But, I think you mentioned, Marty, you mentioned Ramos. Yeah, you can make the argument that he's the best all-around player. I mean, he really plays good defense. I mean, he wasn't playing good defense for a while, but he sure is now. And he hits. He can run.
Yeah.
He's a good player, and he doesn't strike out as much as Chapman does and as much as Adames does either.
Yeah, to take this one apart, first of all, for everyone joining us, I know we're on Larry's channel as well as ours. Larry is en route, should be with us any minute to talk about this game. But for me, Ramos leading the game off with a home run was huge. Getting the big hit in the 8th inning is huge. Defensively, he has a little trouble with the wall. Either gets too close to it. Something happens around the wall with him. He comes in pretty well, and he'll dive and make the play. Not much of an arm, really, as I say, in the outfield. But that bat, for me, and I've always liked it. I've always liked his bat speed. Ramos, for me, is the real deal. Huge today. I want to, again, take this game apart. So people who are just joining us, maybe you watched the game, it looked like the A's were in charge 2-1 in the 8th inning. The Giants did their patented rally to come back, but it started off with a triple by Lamont Wade into Triple's alley, and everyone's been yelling, screaming about Wade, and he's still hitting about 150, but he did get the big hit today, a triple, and then of course scored the tying run on a single by Bailey, who last night got a huge bunt to get that runner over. So a lot going on here today with Wade and Bailey. So let's talk about them a little bit.
Absolutely. And Dan, he's chiming in saying who had Wade and Bailey as the two guys that come through in the clutch, right? And that's what we're getting ready to talk about. Yeah, gosh, you watch Wade and again Bailey, and you're just like, what's going on with these guys? Normally in the first half, Wade, for the most part, usually he's an okay bat, right? He's going to draw a walk, and usually he bats 250, and he's gonna do something for you. And Bailey is usually pretty hot in the first half of the season. Doesn't even have a home run yet. So it was nice to see these guys, go through and contribute to a victory for the club.
Well, Bailey,
go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, I was just saying, Bailey last night, that bunt. If you watch other people bunt, they stab at the ball. They don't want to bunt. They don't want any part of it. This guy got low, got in like a squat, got the bat steady, and just laid down a perfect bunt. That was good. That was good baseball from Bailey last night. I want to make sure we understand that.
Yeah, and that was a good bunt. And I don't even think it's worth anguishing about Bailey's offense, because it doesn't matter how bad he could hit 50 and he'd still be the catcher. I mean, they're not going to make a change on Bailey because of his defensive prowess. It's not going to happen. With Wade, they do have some options, and that was a key hit today. That triple to lead off the inning, I remember, right? So and that's really that's a big hit for him. So I think the only position that they could do something about would be first base, because I don't know about anybody else, but I love Fitzgerald and Adames. Of course, you're not going to make any change in Chapman and Ramos and Lee, and Yastrzemski's playing better than he ever has, really. So the only discussion point, I think, offensively is Wade at first base. Today was kind of a positive sign.
Yeah. And this Encarnacion, if his finger hurts, if it's not healing completely, he's supposed to come back on the 23rd. So we'll see if that happens. But for Wade, the guy, look, he's got a track record. He does have somewhat of a track record. And if he can get loose and give him at least some, he doesn't have to hit with power, but just get on base the way he used to get on base, it'd be huge for him. So for him to come off the bench today and get a triple, I thought was a big one. And there's the star of the show. All right. Great to see you. Larry, how are you?
Hey, I'm sorry I'm a couple minutes late here. Just I didn't get the link, but I'm here, and it was a good game, and it was a great sweep. The Giants are pitching well. Yeah. It is tough watching Bailey swing the bat. I'll say that this year, but yeah, it was a great series. It was a great series for the Giants. I mean, I was anticipating a more painful series. I thought an A's team was going to come in and swing the bat better than they did. They got a lot of good-looking young players: Butler, Wilson, Soderstrom, Langoliers, Kurtz. I mean, it's a good-looking young team. But the Giants totally dominated. The Giants pitching staff dominated the series.
Yeah. Look, Roop pitched really well.
Yeah.
Last night, that was the best Roop has pitched, and they like him. They're not ready to bounce him out of this rotation yet. Roop pitched a nice game last night. Before you got here talking about Verlander, he really struggled today. And I don't mean he just got hit a little bit. He didn't look right to me today. He had no command of his fastball today. So I think Verlander, he's 42. You don't know where it's going completely. He's pitched decently so far. But today for me is one that I'm going to watch a little bit more to see what goes on with him. The guy Friday night, and I don't think he gets enough credit, and that is Logan Webb. Logan Webb is a different pitcher this year. He's throwing that four seam, and not to get technical, but he's throwing the ball higher. Get my hand there, higher. The sweeper and all that other stuff. Logan Webb to me is a number one right now. I don't see anybody blasting him. And I think when you look at the rotation of Robbie Ray and Logan Webb and whatever Verlander is going to do, and you get in there with Roop and now Birdsong coming in, the rotation's okay. Rotation's okay. Probably better than okay. And they've turned it into a 6-inning game. This bullpen last night, last night to watch Rogers throw 4 pitches. Randy Rodriguez is fabulous. Duvall is back to being Duvall again. Walker pitched well. Bevins gives you the 2 innings when he's got to do it. Miller did a good job. I think the pitching is really significant right now. It's only 46, 47 games, whatever it is. But the pitching for me is really the story when you look at the rest of the league and you look at the trouble that they're having, look at the trouble Arizona's having. San Diego pitching is still pretty good, but the Phillies lost Alvarado today to a suspension.
Right.
And the Cub pitching is not great. The Met pitching is not great. I think the Giant pitching could be kind of the best in the league right now. I don't know.
Would you guys say the bullpen's that much better now with Hicks in the bullpen?
Well, I don't know what they're going to do with him. I'll throw it to Larry. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's hard to know where they're going to utilize him, but yeah, I mean, if you shorten him up and he's throwing 103 miles an hour or something like that, yeah, I mean,
I like that.
I like Hicks in the pen. I've been calling for that since I was down there in March. They got a lot of high end arms in their pen. I mean, Eric Miller throws gas. Randy Rodriguez throws gas.
Yeah.
Doval right now, he looked lost before, but he's locked in now. And I mean, it's a great group of guys that have fantastic stuff. And, if Birdsong can give them some great starts, I think they're that much better. I really think they're only, if you said to me, what do you think of the Giants start? I'd say, well, it's a nice start, but it's only a nice start unless they can follow it up with Buster adding a little bit, to this thing. Because I don't think they're going to get to the finish line as is. But if they could add a significant first base bat, if they could maybe add one more, rotation piece between now and the finish line, why not? Why couldn't the Giants do what the lack of offense is? There's at least 1 or 2 days a week where they just look anemic, and there's certain kinds of games where they just can't score, especially at home in these West Coast night games. They can't outscore 6-7 runs in those games, so they have to keep you down to win. But they're playing pretty good defense. They're the bullpen's really, really solid. It got better yesterday with the addition of Hicks. So yeah, no, I think the Giants they're a fun watch. And wow, I mean, Wilmer Flores that was an amazing. He's had an amazing start to his year. And I didn't think Flores and Wade at first were going to be enough. It probably still isn't enough, but man, Flores is doing his part.
What?
Larry,
you
you
never met Rick
can make
yet.
an argument. I was going to say, you can make an argument that any one of those four relievers is the most effective reliever. You really could. I mean, Rogers and Rodriguez and Duvall, I mean, it's something to watch. And Rogers is unhittable. I mean, he goes off and on sometimes, but not this year. He's been effective every game, it seems like. Terrific. Just great.
One other guy we didn't even mention as a bullpen guy, because I don't think we think of him as a bullpen guy, but the last couple times I've watched Kyle Harrison pitch, he reminds me an awful lot, and I said this to Marty the other day, of Kevin Rogers in 1993, because he's got that same kind of arm angle. It's a kind of an odd arm angle. He throws oddly high velocity with it. He's got, he's kind of a work in progress no matter what he is, right? Starter or reliever. But man, there's potential of dominant relief from Harrison if he could, just get into a rhythm.
Yeah. LDO says pulling Verlander after 4 is ridiculous.
No.
Well, that's what he said. So, we like to give people their say.
It was 84 pitches, though. It's a lot of pitches.
Yeah.
He was
and he had no command.
From the first batter.
Yeah.
No
5
command.
walks.
Yeah. No, come on. That
was the time.
He labored through 4.
Rick,
walks.
Rick, you don't know. You haven't been on with Larry before, but Rick is a longtime Giants fan. He's a dear friend with Tony Salvador, and we have lunch all the time and kick it around and make all sorts of $5 bets and all that I lose to Rick every year.
Losing every year.
Yeah.
Any friend of Tony's is a friend of mine. I say that.
Go. Love Tony.
But Rick has been all over Flores. He is the biggest Flores supporter, I think, in the Bay Area. He's been on the guy for years and how good he is. And, of course, this year he's going nuts. But, Larry.
Did you see the stat of the day that I think they had in the broadcast that Wilmer Flores has more bases loaded RBIs or something like that than anybody active in the majors or something like that?
I saw that.
It's ridiculous. Is the guy going to drive in 130? Come on.
Well, here's the thing. I understand they're thinking about a statue already for Wilmer.
Oh man, they're already calling him the legacy, right? The legacy.
No, he just look, fellas. Really, he just gives you. My whole deal about Wilmer is he gives you a professional at bat every single time. Particularly in the late innings, he's thinking about what he wants to do. That, as I mentioned earlier, that at bat last night where he walked, man, that was so compelling to me. Every single pitch, and he was fighting it, and he succeeded in getting a walk. I just thought that was baseball at its very best. Really,
yeah,
terrific.
So what do you do with that? Larry's point is well taken. And I said this last week. The division for me is the key. Is how you play. Look, they took 3 or 4 from Colorado. All right, they got away with it. Colorado's getting healthy again. By the way, Tovar was 5 for 5 last night. They scored a ton of runs. I don't know what they're doing today, but it's how they do in the division. It's how they're going to do against the Dodgers and how they're going to do against the Padres. And to beat those teams, that's where the offense has to pick it up. And I think that, to me, that's going to be the biggest question. What they do in the division.
Well, the only place they need a hitter is first base. I mean, you're not going to get a hitter to replace Lee or Ramos. I mean, Yastrzemski's playing well, hitting well. At shortstop, at third, Bailey's going to be the catcher for his defense. So the only discussion point really is first base. Do you want to make a change and get somebody at first base? I guess you could.
Yeah, Larry, I love your point talking about Harrison. Maybe, there's a little reminiscent, and I mean, he's not as he doesn't have the stuff like Andrew Miller. Remember Andrew Miller, lefty? He come out, throws hard, and he had that devastating wipeout slider. If Harrison could get a slider that is as tight as that, oh my gosh, I think you're right. He could be absolutely devastating coming out of the bullpen,
especially now that he's throwing high 90s. But it's interesting. I mean, I would say that. What do the Giants need? They need to get a little bit more juice in their yard. I mean, it's kind of I hate to, you watch San Diego right now. San Diego at the beginning of games just looks like they've got momentum in their yard, and the Giants, I think would have a little bit more momentum in their yard if they had a few more fans in the stands. I mean, it's good on the weekends. In the weekdays, it's a lot of times it feels like the game was, like people forgot what time the start time was, and it's just there's kind of low energy on some of those midweek games. I'd love to see them, add one bat, see if they could get some better attendance, and see if they can get some juice in their place, because it just seems like on the weekends there's a momentum that they don't have during the week.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I started thinking about Freddie Sanchez today, about Scudero. Maybe we're overlooking second base. You get a guy, a difference maker at second. That could do something. And, Encarnacion, I don't know if he's going to do anything.
We don't know.
The guy fell out of the Mexican League, basically, and, into the major leagues. Is he going to be able to walk in and hit 25 or something like that? Probably not. But the second base situation, Casa's not the answer. He's a nice kid. He does a lot of things right. He'll lay a bunt down. He'll hit the right field. And, he's a good utility guy. Fitzgerald strikes out a lot. And I'm not sure he's the answer either. Wisely, I think, is finished here. I think he's done. You got to look at second base a little bit. But first base for me, I think Wade is going to be the deal. I don't think they're going to mess around with Wade until they see where they are at the deadline. I don't think there's any preemptive move that's going to be made with Wade. I don't see any preemptive moves with any of these guys.
Well, why would they let Wade sit there and just continue to wallow in failure? I mean, I forget what's best for the team, just what's best for him. Don't you think I would DL him and see if I could just get him right? Because, I mean, I saw him in March. His body language was a million times better than it is right now. Yeah. His body language is really defeated right now. I just think, you just need to slow it down for him a little bit. I mean, wouldn't you just want to give him a break, even if it's just to make up an excuse for an injury to let him, get a few extra days off and some hours in the cage or something, because it's just not working. I mean, you're running him out there. You got that triple today, but I mean, you got a single yesterday, but he is just deep funk.
Well, who are you going to replace him with? That's the real problem. VR is gone. As soon as Encarnacion comes back, he's gone. Wilmer, you just want to kind of leave him where he is. He plays a little bit of first base. They're trying to force Matos back into the lineup. Matos, for me, unless you're going to commit to the guy and let him play a lot, playing him once a week doesn't work for me.
No,
it's not good.
You don't want to mess around with right field, though, right? You don't want to mess around with Yastrzemski. I mean, I've been very critical of Yastrzemski, but I mean, he's hitting pretty well right now, and he's a good defender. So you don't want to mess around there with Matos, right?
Plus, Yastrzemski leads off.
Yeah,
I mean, he's getting on base, he's getting here and there, and he's not hitting with a lot of power, but who cares? But he's getting, he's leading off. They don't have a leadoff hitter.
I bet they talk about Wade every day. I bet Posey talks about him every day. I don't know what they're going to do. Larry's point is well taken. Maybe some sort of a fabricated 10-day DL. I don't know. He doesn't seem like the same. He's not the same batter. Doesn't have the same eye.
You get to Wade, you get to Bailey, you get to Fitzgerald. I mean, you're praying that something comes out of that. Yeah. And that's the problem. You got three guys at the end. You're praying that it works out. But with pitching like this, I just think the problem's going to be on the road and in the division. I think in this park, they play great at home. I think they're going to have a big year at home.
They definitely have the pitching to win, to be competitive in all these games, because their park is a tough park to hit in. So the games are going to be games that are winnable games for the Giants. So you're right. I mean, they do have the recipe. It's not the kind of park where, you need to score 7 or 8 runs twice a week. You can score 3 or 4 runs every day and win there.
Yeah.
Ryan,
Ryan, I was going to say, Ryan, you can put up some of the questions if you want as we go through it. Larry, I know you got a lot of your fans.
Oh, you got one right here. Where is this? Oh, Dan says trade for Rhys Hoskins. Won't cost very much. What do you guys think about that one?
Yeah, well, Rhys Hoskins is I'm not sure that's an upgrade on Wade, to tell you the truth. Do you?
That's what my concern is.
I do think that's. You don't think that's an upgrade on Lamont Wade?
Rhys Hoskins, what's he hitting, about 220?
But I mean, Rhys Hoskins is Rhys Hoskins. I mean, he's done it before. I mean, the guy's got big time right-handed power.
He's got the back of his
I mean, Rhys Hoskins.
285.
Rhys Hoskins is not old. Rhys Hoskins is 32 years old. He's hitting 288. This guy's almost hitting 290.
I'll take that back. I stand corrected. He's actually
288 in today's baseball is that's Rod Carew or something.
And he's taking walks. He's got a 389 on base. Yeah, interesting.
All right. Well, all right.
I stand corrected.
I'll go back on that one. He's having a better year than he did last year.
Yes.
All right.
But I mean, first of all, wait. We gotta back that up a second. This guy has got a 34 homer season. This guy's got a 29 homer season. This guy's got a 27 homer season. He's got a 30 homer season. He's got a 26 homer season. Last year? So I mean, Lamont Wade. What's Lamont Wade ever hit?
Oh yeah, he's
10.
I think the most he's hit is like.
You're looking Rhys Hoskins like Pat Burrell.
Just saying, Rhys. We can't say that. We can't. Be like Rhys Hoskins. We don't need him. He's Lamont Wade. Lamont Wade's never approached those numbers ever.
No, he could just get on base.
Well, is he available? I mean, is he available at this point?
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, that's the question. And I don't know. I mean, the Brewers are not a good team, but they're not a bad. I mean, I don't know how they view themselves.
Yeah, Brewers probably can use some pitching too.
But I'm just saying. Okay, so I was listening to an interview Dave Fleming was doing on KBR maybe a year ago, and he was asked about Rhys Hoskins, and he said that when the Giants went into Philly, that Rhys Hoskins used to ask questions all the time about the club and the team, and according to Dave, he made it seem like Rhys Hoskins followed the Giants. Like even when, outside of Philadelphia. So, and that was obviously, and the Giants could have gone after him. They opted not to, but I'm not sure what his contract looks like. It's probably $17-18 million a year.
Yeah, it's probably year to year.
I think this is last year. Yeah.
He got hurt heading into his free agent season. Remember, that's when he hurt his knee.
His knee. Yep.
And I could be wrong. Dan's all over me here because I didn't know Hoskins hit the way to All right, Dan, you got me on that. But what did he hit last year?
Last year was awful. Last year was awful. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Yeah, this year he's hitting a little bit better. He's got 5 home runs this year. So, but it's someone like that. It's like a Pat Burrell. But I'm still thinking second base. Find me that little second baseman. Who possibly could lead off, hit with a little bit of power, something like that. That may be one spot. I don't know.
Who's out of it that has a good? Is there anybody out of it that has a good second baseman? I was just going to say, is there anybody? I mean, the Orioles, the White Sox, the Angels, the Marlins, the Pirates, the Rockies. Those are the cellar dwelling teams right now.
Yeah.
If you think about where the Giants are today, and you're only thinking about 1 or 2 players, that says a lot about how well the team's playing. Years ago they could have had 5 different players. Now it's 1 or 2. That's pretty darn good.
I mean, heck, look at this. I mean, if all I said to you was it's May 18th and the Giants are a game and a half behind the Dodgers.
Exactly.
I mean, you'd be like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Right.
And they're doing it the way you're supposed to do it. They're 500 on the road and they're doing it at home. They're 16-7 at home and they're hanging on the road, winning just enough to stay above water. And they're plus 47 run differential shows that it's a pretty solid club. This is not accidental.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did this morning. I looked at the loss column for everybody. Dodgers going into today, 17, San Diego 17, Giants 19, Arizona 22, the Cubs 19, St. Louis 20, the Mets 17, Philly 18, Atlanta 23. So the Giants are right in there with everybody in the whole league.
They are.
I mean, that record to me says, hey, they can play with anybody right now. But we're talking long term and how you're going to play in the division, and that's where the offense has got to pick it up a little bit. It's tough to win games 3-2 and 1-0, and walk off walks and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's the issue right now, is getting a little better production. Forget about you may not be able to trade for a first baseman or a speedy second baseman who can hit with a little bit of power. But you're looking now at getting production from Adames.
Right.
Is he going to hit 25? Jung-Ho Lee, as much as we love him, he's down to 270s now. I thought he was going to lead the league in hitting at 360. He was playing so well. Chapman is buried in the 220s down there. So maybe the issue is really the guys who are there have got to pick it up a little bit. And that's a question to you guys. Of that group, who's going to pick it up?
Well, I think that, if Chapman's got a history, he'll hit 25 or 30. Adames is a little bit of a disappointment, but, he's going to be there all year. You can't do a thing about it. And he's the soul of the team. Let's face it, the soul of the team. I'm not ready to give up on Fitzgerald, though, Marty. I still like him. He does strike out a lot. But I'm not ready to move somebody else in there because I think he does play pretty good fundamental baseball.
Yeah, I'm not ready to give up on him at all. But if I was thinking, if you can give me a guy like a Freddie Sanchez or a Scudero or something like that, that may be something that could help the batting order and move the line along.
Well, I mean, the nice thing here is that, in Fitzgerald, he represents a guy that could, if you did find a player that was really good at second base, that he could be your super utility guy.
Yeah,
maybe that might have been his ideal role this year if they thought they were going to contend, was to make him the super utility guy. But he started off slow. He had that conversation with Barry Bonds. It seemed like that really helped him. He seemed like he's rebounded a little bit. I definitely haven't given up on him either. He's a streaky player. It's hard to look at him and say, some of these people that were looking at his numbers from last year and just extrapolating out, oh, yeah, he's going to be a 30 second baseman. It's like, whoa, okay, let's pump the brakes. That was probably not accurate. That was probably more of a product of a small sample size. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, I think he gives you flexibility. If you find somebody that, a bat in another spot, great. You keep him at second. If you find a second baseman that can hit, now he becomes your super utility, and I think that works.
Yeah. And, to your point, Marty, Chapman and Thomas combined $330 million you got invested in these guys. They got to have to start producing like the contract that they gave them. They have to, man. You can't sit there
and someone points out, he gets you speed.
Yeah, he gets you speed. And same thing, Chapman and Adames, they also have speed. They could do, and that's something that we haven't seen with the Giants lately too. And I think you put a tweet out about that, Marty, talking about stolen bases with the Giants. They were stealing quite a few in the beginning, not so much now, but the guys got to get on base. And that's where Adames and Chapman, I don't know, the back of their baseball card says they were like around 230, 240 hitters, and they strike out a lot. But man, they're going to have to figure it out. They're getting paid the big bucks, and they're going to have to show up here.
Larry, before you came on, we had the ninth inning. We had it, and the question was who was going to close today. All of a sudden they went ahead 3-2 in the eighth inning, and we said, "Gee, I don't know. Is it going to be Walker or Duvall?" And it ended up being Walker today. So my question: we're going to take a break and come back and answer this. Who's the closer on this team? Is it up in the air, or is it Walker, or does Duvall get his job back? So let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and answer that. It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, ROBBEN, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are nose to ground units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
Oh, you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Hey, it's Marty, and I'm here to tell you that it's time to discover the islands, and of course that means River Islands. They're celebrating 10 years of bringing the good life to Bay Area homebuyers. What's more, Del Webb, one of America's best-known builders for active adults in the 55 and over crowd, has just opened 3 neighborhoods at River Islands. They're building a huge community center on its own lake, all for buyers looking for a great lifestyle and a little less maintenance. I like that. Homes are priced from the 600,000s. Start your tour online at riverislands.com. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? It sure is for me. Hello again, Marty Lurie here to talk to you about my good friends at Georgie Brothers, the largest family-owned furniture store in the entire Bay Area. Right now, and good through May 26th, you can save hundreds of dollars on my favorite line of furniture, Stressless. You know, I own Stressless furniture in my home, and I can tell you it's the most comfortable place to sit in my house. Visit them at georgiebrothers.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. Remember, tell them that Marty sent you. All right. Very good. All right, Larry, you're laughing. You see?
No, I'm loving it. Are you kidding me? That's an amazing array of commercials, sponsors, videos. I mean, you're the master.
We're trying. Well, you're the guy. You're the guy. All right, a couple of things. One, Dodgers are losing 5-4 to the Angels. Are in shape to sweep them here. Dan's been bringing us up to date on Chris Taylor. I guess got DFA'd by the Dodgers. How about that? Seattle's already beaten San Diego today, so that's happened. I haven't seen the Arizona score yet. I didn't see what happened there. But let's talk a little bit about the closer. And I, truthfully, Rick and I and Eric were talking about it. I didn't know who they were going to bring in, Walker or Duvall. What do you think, Larry?
I think they're going to play it by year. I think they're going to play the hot hand all year. I think they're going to play matchup games and who's fresh. And who knows? Maybe Hicks could be involved in this ninth inning at some point. He definitely has the kind of stuff that would not intimidate you from putting him on it or putting him in the ninth inning. They may have to throw him a couple bones just to get him, as far as, the money in the game, we all know, is in the closer role and in the starting role. So that's why guys want to close and guys want to start. Now you're taking Hicks and you're saying, we're taking you out of the money spot. We're going to put you in the relief role. So maybe, to try to make him happy, they'll give him the ninth inning at some juncture, or at least some taste of it. But my guess is they're not going to hand it to anybody and that they're going to play this hottest hand, make them compete all year, make them fight it out, and do what's best for the club on a daily basis. I think that's probably the best route to go.
Yeah, Rick, what do you think?
No, actually, I think Larry makes a good point. You don't really have to commit, verbally tell the world that Duvall's your closer or Walker's your closer. It could depend on the situation and not put so much pressure on that closer than if you announce he's the closer. Because Duvall, I was critical of him early on. He's as effective as anybody. And maybe they're both cool with this situation. Usually you'd want to know where you're pitching. I understand that, and that kind of is important. And certainly that's where you have Rogers. He's always going to pitch in the seventh or eighth. But I don't think it's a bad idea to let things play out.
Yeah, I think it's Walker. They just haven't demoted him, and he went into the year being the closer. And I think it's him. Now, if he's got to go 3 days in a row, then Duvall gets the 4th day, or Duvall gets the 3rd day. I think that's it. But I think if there's a game to be won, unless something crazy is going on with Walker, I think Walker's the guy.
And it's to a point. Sometimes you can win the game in the 7th inning. Remember, and I talked about this on the show the other day. Remember the 2014, 2015 Kansas City Royals? They had that 3-headed monster, Herrera, Davis, and Holland. And it's like they had the lead going into the up as a win. And that's something that the Giants could do here with the types of Hicks, Duvall, Walker, and then you could throw in Randy Rodriguez and Tyler Rogers. I mean, one thing, Tyler Rogers, he's getting the strikeouts. Normally he's not a strikeout guy, but he's been chalking up the strikeouts lately. So the Giants are sitting pretty. I like where they are with the bullpen. And if you want, I mean, this is something we'll maybe get a little ahead of ourselves. Maybe trade deadline. Maybe that's something that they could deal from since they have so much depth.
Dodgers just picked up. I saw Lou Trevino.
Trevino.
They picked up Trevino. One other name that I'm seeing out there, and I thought of this guy in spring training when I was watching Colorado. What do you think of Ryan McMahon? I know McMahon's a third baseman, but there's a lot of talk right now that the Cubs and Dodgers are kicking tires on with the Rockies on Ryan McMahon. And I know there has been times where he has played second base. Now, there's also been times where he's hit. I know he's hitting about 210 right now, and that's not good. But I always felt he was like a really solid player. I think he might just be stagnating in the kind of wallowing in the negativity of the Rockies. He probably just needs a change of scenery. Ryan McMahon's not old. I know he's more of a third baseman than a second baseman, but if you felt he could play second, he might give them, even though he's not hitting right now, he has hit in the past. He's the kind of guy that might hit in the future.
Yeah, I like it. If he can play second base, he's a big guy. It'd be like LeMahieu or a guy like that at second. But you put his bat into the lineup as a left-handed hitter, which they can use a left-handed hitter. Isn't McMahon,
he's a lefty.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that can knock it out. I like him. Yeah, I like him. That's not a bad call.
One of the stats they showed today or they were discussing today on the broadcast was the Giants this year are 24-9 against righties, but they're only 3-10. I guess now today 4-10 against left-handed starters. Why are they struggling so consistently against left-handed starters?
Well,
it's hard to understand. Hard to explain. I have no idea.
Well, Ramos, it's the top of the order, can hit a little bit, but Adames and Chapman probably are not picking it up where they should.
Right.
And Lee is going to get neutralized a little bit by a left-hander. So Flores, again, he went through a tough spell, a few weeks ago. He had slowed down a little bit. So maybe it's from the right-handed side. Bailey can't hit from the right. Look, Rick, the guy's not going to drive in 150. It's
you mean Wilmer?
Yeah, he's going to
slow
down.
Get the statue ready. Statue for
well,
Wilmer.
he's great against lefties. I mean, he's not their problem for sure against lefties.
Ramos too is.
But I mean, I'll say this today.
How did you put Wilmer in this discussion about not hitting lefty? How is Wilmer?
Well, I'm saying there are guys who are hitting the lefties, but the other ones from the right side probably are not picking it up. I would say that to me.
Well, like today was a good example. Springs, I thought today, he didn't have great stuff. He just stayed away from the right-handed hitters. He just you know what? I'm just going to pitch away. How many times did you watch right-handed hitters try to pull him and just roll the top hand? I mean, he retired at one point like 15 straight Giant hitters, and he looked like he was, modern day Sandy Koufax, the way he's out there just blowing people away. But it was just because he just stayed on that outside corner and just refused to come in. And the Giant hitters, instead of having a right field approach and really driving the ball with authority the other way, they were rolling the top hand and grounding him out.
And why take Springs out? How about that?
I know, that was crazy. He
Yeah,
was
that was
cruising.
weird.
He had retired, 20 in a row.
It
And he gave
happens
up
like
one hit. Yeah.
this is modern baseball. This happens so much more than it used to happen. This is a product of analytics. This is the Kevin Cash era where, you know what? I've got some data in my back pocket that's going to help me lose this game. Watch.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
It used to
amazing,
happen more with Kapler for sure. But
Yeah, for sure.
if Kapler was there this year, are you telling me Yastrzemski would be playing this much? No,
No
way.
No.
Nobody be
Because
playing this much.
He's hitting
No,
differently.
They'd have
Level
guys.
the swing going the other way.
No.
Yeah. No
this
way.
is- but I'll tell you, what did you think last night, Larry? Because we haven't talked about it, and Rick too. And Rick, I'm afraid to ask you the question, but walking Yastrzemski to get to Florida.
Oh man.
I was laughing my ass off watching that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This guy is the hottest guy in on the planet, and Miller had the stat. I mean, he's got more bases loaded RBIs like since he's been in the majors than anybody else in all of baseball. So it's like how could all analytics is data. How could you miss out on that data point and ask and basically ask your pitcher, beg for your pitcher to get Flores in that situation? I mean, that almost was like managerial negligence.
Well,
that was classic. That was classic Kapler. And then he loaded the bases, putting more pressure on the pitcher.
Right.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good baseball.
Well, the pitcher did everything he could. I mean, he threw 10 pitches. He's throwing 104, 103. But Flores kept fouling it off and fouling it off. He did it today. He had another 8 or 9 pitch at bat today.
Yeah, he did.
He's something else. He really is. But there was a move that wasn't made last night that I talked about this morning with Whoa. And that is with 2 out in the 8th inning, Flores got a walk. And a lot of people, including, I think, the TV broadcast, were saying, get Koss in there to pinch run for Wilmer. 2 out. And I said, I've seen this before. Art Howe had Jeremy Giambi on first with 2 out and didn't pinch run for him. And Terrence Long hit the ball in the right field corner, and Derek Jeter made the flip, and blah, 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 blah. And, the A's ended up losing. But the lesson is, with 2 out and a guy on first, you don't take out your best hitter.
Right.
You may need him later on, which is exactly what happened.
Right.
Now, if the run had gotten to second with 1 out, then maybe you make the move. But Melvin did not make the move. Melvin stayed with Wilmer, and I was impressed with it. The slowest guy in baseball, 2 out. You're in a nothing
One
game.
of the slowest. One of the slowest. Not
He
one
is
of the slowest.
the slowest.
Even Krueger always says
No,
zero
Larry,
speed.
Larry, the truth is, Larry, Marty is really late to the party about Wilmer. That's the truth.
Mark Hill could beat Flores in a race. Okay, that's
No.
how big.
Maybe that'll be the
No.
new seventh. Maybe that'll be the new seventh inning thing. The Giants will bust out Mark
Kenny
Hill,
Reed-
Doug Mirabelli, and they'll race Wilmer Flores around the field.
Kenny Reed's
But
couldn't beat him
Melvin,
either.
Melvin's doing it. Melvin's doing a good job here. I must tell you, handling the bullpen the way he handles it, and getting guys in and out, and sticking with the lineup. I look at the lineup every day. I say, what's it going to be? And I'm so used to Kapler, with guys all over the place. But hey, you look at that lineup every day. If a lefty's pitching, you know what it's going to look like. If a righty's pitching, you know what it's going to look like. I think Melvin's doing a heck of a job.
He is, and I think he's trying to get Adames and Chapman, because one thing, they're in the lineup, but you notice they're moving around a little bit. Sometimes they're hitting second or cleanup or fifth or sixth. So he's trying to get those guys going. So I commend him on trying to get those guys going, because they need
they've moved Adames back now.
Yeah.
And and they moved Wilmer up a little bit, but I think Melvin's done a heck of a job here.
Yeah, he has.
Oh, and there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, and you can't move everybody down, right? I mean, it's like you got a lineup full of guys that aren't really swinging it that well. You can't move everybody down. So you just got to – I'll tell you, I'm going to be very interested to see how Manassian and Posey add to this team. I think I would be proactive. I would – there's no doubt they need a bat now. But I also think they're at a point in their kind of development as a franchise and where they could make a move that's really more about the future. I mean, they've got a lot of nice. I mean, some years the Giants have had, oh, you know what, don't make a move because you're not one move away. Other years they've been like, well, they could really use somebody, but they don't really have anybody to trade. This is the first year I feel like they actually are there and are within striking distance, and they have plenty of assets to trade. It's just a matter of mapping it out and deciding who you want to keep and who you want to move and who you want to target. But I'll tell you, I've been watching, watching the minor leagues for the last month or so, and the Orioles have Adley Rutschman behind the plate, and they have a young catcher from Venezuela named Samuel Basallo, who's a left-handed hitting catcher who's really an offensive player. This guy's a DH, if I've ever seen it. He's a little bit of a catcher, but he's more of a hitter. I mean, the Orioles need so much. It seems like the Giants have enough big-time pieces where if they could just, put a couple of them together, they could probably target a good young player in another system that they want, that they feel like could add to their core and make that move. It doesn't have to be about somebody who's a free agent in 6 weeks or, somebody who's, out of options or something. It doesn't have to be somebody at the end of the road. Teams trade for young players all the time. I mean, it does happen. I'd love to see the Giants, target a young offensive player that's blocked in another organization and see if they could unearth him in a trade by offering some of the incredible depth of young arms that they have in their system.
Yeah. And talking to some of the people, around the ball club, there is not enough hitting in the farm system. They need some young hitters. Eldridge is hitting the ball pretty well at Richmond, but, he's not really close to being called up at this point. They could use that. But they're in this thing. The Dodgers got swept by the Angels. The Padres got swept by the Mariners. Arizona did win today 1-0 over Colorado. How about that? All of a sudden, Colorado's starting to pitch a little bit. This division is just fascinating to see what's going to happen here. So what do they need? Maybe it's the bench. Maybe it is like not Encarnacion, but a guy like that. And I'll just throw out a name like a Randall Grichuk, that kind of guy, like Cano was supposed to be last year. Maybe they just have to fortify the bench and be able to have guys who can come in. That may be where they have to go. Someone, I don't know if I mentioned, someone said Verlander complained of something physical after the game today. He didn't look right. I'm telling you, I texted Woe, and the third batter
said, not good.
Said he's struggling. He didn't look right.
Well, at the beginning of the year, we talked about how, I know you and I did, Marty, about 15 starts for Verlander to be okay, and he's got 10 or 11. I'm not surprised that he might be breaking down at all. That was part of the bargain when you made the signing.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about something else. Look, they're in it. Dodgers get swept. The Giants are a game out. They got Kansas City coming in. They don't hit at all. Again, this is going to be another series where
they pitch well. Kansas City does pitch well.
Yeah, but their guys are hurt. They got the lefty Bubik tomorrow, then Lorenzen, and they don't even have a pitcher for Wednesday yet.
Yeah, so, Lugo went on the shelf.
Yeah. So you get Reagans is hurt and all that kind of stuff. Then they go to Washington, so they're in a good position now to actually have a good week. Detroit, maybe another story next week when they're in Detroit. And then they always have a little trouble in Miami. So these next 12 games, I would be shocked if they weren't something like 8-4, maybe in these 12 coming up, something like that.
That'd be fantastic.
They should handle this road trip and everything else. They should be in good shape. But big news in baseball this week, and Rick has very strong opinions on it. And I wanted to get Larry's thoughts on as well. Pete Rose. Larry, where do you stand on Pete Rose, what Manfred did, why he did it, and where does Pete Rose ultimately end up vis-a-vis the Hall of Fame?
Well, I mean, it this always was going to be the result, right? This was always going to be the result. They were never going to let Pete in his lifetime, and it was just that wasn't going to happen. The commissioners, always felt like Bart Giamatti's intentions were for Pete to not be in the Hall, and they were not going to go against Bart Giamatti. They just were not going to do it. Now, somebody got, it's the old Bob Costas line. Somebody got those 4,000 hits. And this is the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Purity. By putting him in the Hall of Fame, when anybody goes into the Hall of Fame, do you feel like that's a statement about their unassailable character?
Right.
No, right? When you see guys put into the Hall of Fame year after year, do you go, oh, they must be of the highest moral fortitude? No, no. So, I mean, that's not what it's ever been about. So, I think the greatest show that I've ever seen, and I would recommend every baseball fan to go watch it, is Don Van Atta, who used to be an investigative journalist during the Clinton White House, did a show on ESPN for a few years. It was called The Backstory. And he has an episode on there that you can find on YouTube called The Backstory on Joe Jackson. And he went to the Joe Jackson Museum and talked to the curator and really did a deep investigative dive on exactly baseball's stance on gambling initially, through the Black Sox scandal, through the Rose scandal, through the Dowd report, and to the present day. And it's a genius show. It's about 90 minutes. You can see it at, I believe, any time you want. And basically his thing was like baseball, and he summed it up by saying, gambling was baseball's third rail for a while. But if you go back far enough, baseball embraced gambling until they didn't. Mm-hmm. And now baseball shunned gambling until they didn't. And so baseball is all over the freaking map when it comes to their stance and their approach to illegal gambling. Rose knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew it was the cardinal sin of the game. He did it because of arrogance and entitlement. Don't tell me he didn't bet against his team. Everybody who follows baseball knows that you have A-list relievers and B-list relievers. And if you got 25 grand on today's game, you're probably using your A-list relievers. And if you got nothing on tomorrow's game, you're probably using your B-list relievers. And don't tell me he didn't do that. So don't tell me he didn't manipulate the game for his own good. He damn well did. He knew what he was doing. And he deserves to pay the penalty. That being said, once again, he got all those hits. The Baseball Museum is that. It's a museum that records baseball history. And I know it's viewed as an award, like, oh, you get the award of being in the Hall of Fame. But it's a museum. And that part of baseball history cannot be told. You cannot tell the history of baseball without Pete Rose, so he's got to be in there.
All right, Rick has been very.
You're making my point. You're making my. I can't hold myself back. You're making my point why he should not be in the Hall. This is the most egregious example of why someone should not be in the Hall. This guy is a total scoundrel. Okay, but more to the point, because it doesn't matter whether he's a scoundrel or not, right? You're going to talk about.
I would agree with you. I mean, I'm not going to disagree, but I've got to counter this.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me finish. Here's a guy that bet for his team allegedly. Now look, I read the Dowd report. It's implied that he bet against the Reds. Wasn't sufficient evidence to put in the final investigative report. It almost doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
He made a comment about this. Wait a minute. He pitches. He's the manager. And he blows up his bullpen Friday and Saturday. On Sunday, and he bets Friday and Saturday. On Sunday, when he doesn't bet, his bullpen's blown up. What does he care? That goes to the integrity of the sport. That does not help the team or the sport or the world. It's just outrageous what he did. To even consider this guy for the Hall is disgraceful.
Okay,
the way
but
it happened, I
but
don't like it.
I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with anything that you said. But what's the fair penalty? What's the fair penalty?
Is forever. Look, have
Why?
a little room at the Hall.
Why?
It's called the scoundrel room.
Wait a second. Time out. Ty Cobb shanked a guy with a knife outside of his hotel. He's in the Hall of Fame. He was one of the most hated racists from the day he was born to the day he died. He's in there. This is not a statement that these are great people. This is a statement that these are
about a manager who could control the game.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not even fighting that he made a mistake. I'm just saying, what is an acceptable penalty? Then let's go beyond this. Okay. This is a special player. This guy had a special ability. Can we at least agree that Pete Rose had a special talent for the game? He's one of the greatest players of all time.
Right.
Charlie Hustle.
This is my father used to tell me as a kid, if you're going to play the game the way that guy plays it. But here's the other thing. Bud Selig's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Why is it's okay for Bud Selig to be in the Hall of Fame?
What's that got to do with?
But I'm just saying, Bud Selig's in the Hall of Fame, but Barry Bonds is not. But Roger Clemens is not. No, but I'm just I know, I understand that. But my point is that okay, you penalized Pete Rose. You kept him out of the Hall of Fame his whole life. Or you can say he did it to himself, but he's been out of the Hall of Fame his whole life. At some point, you're a baseball museum that records baseball history. At some point, you're doing more disservice to yourself, and you're doing more damage to yourself than you're doing, good for the game by appearing this moral compass. Plus, there's all kinds of really, really bad people that were in the Hall of Fame already. And so I think to acknowledge that to add another one to me does not change things. I don't believe that this moral code that the Hall of Fame, committee is voting on. I just don't believe in voting on that. You're either in or you're not as a player. But to me, once Bud Selig is in there, but once Bud's in there, you've got guys,
and he won't get in. Have a mandatory.
No, believe me. Hey, I'm not making a prediction. If we're making predictions, I'll predict that he doesn't get in. Why? Because it's not the writers that are keeping him out. It's his brethren. It's his Hall of Fame brothers are the ones that are keeping him out. That's why he's not getting in, because the players don't want him in. So he's not getting in. But once again, Bud's not in. But Bud's a used car salesman who probably tricked people out of money for years and years until he had enough to buy a team.
How are you comparing Selig with Rose? There's no
because Bud Selig lied. Because Bud Selig lied and saw about the steroid era, said he knew nothing about it when he had held meetings about steroids years prior to that. He's been caught in a lie, and instead of being if there was a crooked school, would you blame the students? Would you blame the principal and the administrators?
If there was a crooked school, I'll
blame the
principal.
But I'll blame in a crooked school. In a crooked school, I'll blame the principal and the administrators, not the students. The students, in this case, the players. I'm talking about the steroid era, but they were basically operating in a Wild West situation with no rules. Bud knew what was going on, looked the other way, and watched his salary jump to $50 million per year on the backs of that. And now he's in and they're not. And he's a used car salesman and they had special talent. No, as far as I'm concerned, the Hall of Fame has issues.
Let me say this. The essential issue is, what is the Hall of Fame? Is it a museum? Right. Or is it something that baseball people hold to some high standard that doesn't exist in the world? We live in a world where people get deported overnight and they disappear, and nobody seems to be worried about it. We live in a crazy world. All right,
we're human. We're fallible, right?
Hall of Fame has always been this little area that we kept sacred. which was ridiculous, but that's what we do. But the point is, it is a museum. It is something that we as baseball fans take seriously. But what he did defiled the game, so to speak. But there's no evidence that he did it when he was a player. So if there's no evidence that he did it as a player, then you have to respect what he accomplished as a player. And the other stuff has to go to the side. So the big issue is, what is it? It's a museum. It's a place to honor baseball. And if he did it as an outstanding player, I can deal with it. And what happened afterwards has to be explained. But
I mean, let's just say this. You need to get credentials to get to the Hall of Fame. He had the credentials and then did something after he accumulated the credentials to in people's minds negate that Hall of Fame. But he established those credentials, and all four of us who are sitting here would say that he established those credentials 100% on the up and up. I mean, he didn't cheat his way to 4,000 hits, and to try to paint him as such is wrong.
He cheated his team. He cheated the league. He cheated baseball when he bet for the Reds, and probably against the Reds when he was manager of the Reds.
But he wouldn't have made the Hall of Fame without the 4,000 hits. Yeah, but but he's not even a Hall of Fame discussion without the 4,000 hits.
Here's what you do, Larry. You have a little room with a key, and he's in the little room at the hall, and it says "scoundrels only." Here's the key.
Okay, then I gotta hear your thoughts.
He doesn't get to be in the rest of the room with guys that play by the rules.
Right.
With the great racists like Ty Cobb. You're right. He doesn't get to be in that room. What about Joe Jackson?
Keep Joe out too. I'm for all the scoundrels being out.
So Joe Jackson, who hit 346 in the 1919 World Series and couldn't really speak on his own behalf.
He signed up to tank the World Series. It's a fact.
Right. He's one of the guys who signed up for that. But here's the thing about this. Baseball embraced gambling before they ever shunned gambling. They embraced gambling. Baseball's popularity grew in the early days on the backs of gambling. So it's okay when it was growing your sport, but it wasn't okay when you decided it wasn't okay. And I like how it's not okay for years and years and years. And now, guess what? There's gambling kiosks inside Wrigley Field. Now it's good enough to be shoulder to shoulder with the gamblers. Now it's suddenly awesome. So right. I mean, I don't know. We're talking about moral. We're talking about very delicate moral ground, and we're just kind of picking and choosing.
I know. This is why we love baseball, because this one issue gets people crazy. It does, which is not a problem. Everyone's opinion is respected. I respect that where Larry comes from, Rick, and that's the world we live in. Where's it going to end up? Trump wants him in. That was the whole point of Trump getting in the middle of this. He wants him in the Hall of Fame. So we'll see if he can twist enough arms to get him in. I agree with Larry to this extent that the writers and people who are connected to the Hall of Fame probably wouldn't vote for him. I don't think he's going to be able to get 12 votes. I think that there's a difference of opinion, just like we have here today on this issue. As a player, there's no question. But what happened after he was a player, does that exclude him? Is it the award? Is it an honor? Is it this Valhalla? Is it this crazy mythical place that we love as baseball fans that doesn't really exist anywhere in the world, but we'd like it to think that it exists? What is it? So to be continued.
I'll say this. I've met Pete Rose, and I've witnessed Pete Rose, when he hosted Sports Fan Radio Network, his show in Vegas. I've seen him verbally abuse his producer, and he's a prick bastard. He was a prick bastard. I'm not saying that Pete Rose is a good guy at all. Pete Rose is not a good guy, but somebody got those 4,000 hits.
All right. Now look on the screen. Is this meant for you?
Fuji Simeon, $10 says, only deal breaker for Hall of Fame consideration is whether or not a candidate separates their recyclables from their trash. Pete Rose as a person was a son of a bitch, but as a player, changed baseball, Hall of Fame worthy.
It sounds like one of your guys. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Look, I respect everyone's opinion. Rick, I've been talking to Rick about this for years, and it's what you think of the game and him and blah blah blah. But the guy did get 4,256 hits, and there was never a question whether he did anything wrong during that period of time. And to me, that's important. That's important. So we'll see. Boy,
we'll see. It's a changing world. I mean, there's no question that the Hall of Fame beyond this thing is going to have to make adjustments that they've never made. There's not going to be 300 game winners. There's not going to be, that many guys who have got certain stats. There's certain 500 home runs is not. Used to be, hey man, you need 500 home runs or you're not in. You need 300 wins or you're not in. Well, that's not going to be the case. That's those things are going to change. That is going to change, and so there's going to have to be a number of changes to modernize the Hall of Fame, and I'm sure it's going to be tied to our kind of moral, how we view things morally.
Yeah, and baseball.
Remove character and integrity from the criteria for the Hall and let them in then if you want to. Just remove
and analytically.
I think they probably should, actually, to be honest.
Analytically will be a big deal, not 500, 3,000 and all that kind of stuff, but, what his FIP was and all that kind of stuff. That's going to have a bearing on whether somebody gets in or not. Larry, you got another $1.99 coming here.
A.J. Pierzynski is against Pete Rose going into the Hall of Fame.
All right. There's a lot of players that are against it, and most of
the players are against. Forget A.J. Pierzynski; he's a nobody. The guys who were Hall of Famers don't want Pete in.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Pete's not getting in because
they didn't bet again. They didn't bet on baseball. That's why
they don't want him in. They don't want him in.
We talked about the steroid guys, and that we could save that for another show.
Yeah.
What about Bonds and Clemens and A-Rod and Manny and those people?
Palmeiro.
Yeah.
Here's the guy, Rose, walks into the clubhouse, no betting on baseball, and he calls his bookie in 5 minutes. Think about it. Boys.
As a manager, he did.
Pete Rose is a bad guy. I mean, Pete Rose left his wife for a Philadelphia Eagles cheerleader. I mean, and like paraded her around town.
One last thing, and Marty, I want to end this thing. Do you think he bet against the Reds, Larry? Do you think he bet against the Reds?
I'm pretty sure he probably didn't, but as I said before, it doesn't matter because if you bet on the Reds every day, there's no doubt in my mind that he manipulated the games around his wagers. No doubt.
That answers the question.
Okay,
but I actually don't believe. If you ask me what I believe, I don't actually think that he said, I'm trying to lose today. I don't think so.
If there was evidence, 100% evidence that he bet against his own team, would that change your opinion?
You mean as a manager?
As a manager, if he bet against his own team.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he already did. Yeah. I acknowledge, because to me, once again, it's like yesterday. I mean, just imagine how this went. It's a Friday night. Pete had 25 grand on the Reds, and he used all of his top relievers. Well, he's got nothing on him today, and he's not using anybody. Right. Well, that's betting against his team.
Yeah,
that's betting against his team.
If you're acknowledging to me that if you knew he bet against his own team, it would not change your opinion about whether he should be in the Hall?
Well, I mean, what is the Hall at this point? What's the Hall at this point?
That's the basic.
What's the Hall? It's a museum.
That's the basic question.
The Hall is there to remember baseball history. He's got to be part of the story. Does he not? You're just gonna wipe out any part of history you don't like.
I'm not wiping anything out. I'm putting him in there.
It's a museum. It will essentially be wiped out because if you don't remember it in a museum, it won't be remembered once people die.
All right, enough. That's enough. All right. This is why you guys are the best.
I tell you.
I was looking forward to this. This is
It's
like,
good stuff.
this
It's good
is like-
stuff.
no, this is
I don't
like-
want Big Poppy in the Hall of Fame.
This is like Joe Frazier and Foreman. I got going here. This is good.
Baseball does this though. We go, it's 6 months. It's so part of people's lives that there's so much investment in the game and the players who have played. It's different than any other sport, right?
Yep. Yeah,
I'd rather talk about Wilmer, to tell you the truth. I'd rather talk about Wilmer.
All right, we'll end it on this one. Give me an over/under on RBIs for the season for Wilmer.
Who are you asking?
All right,
Everybody,
I'm gonna give you 89.
89 for the year.
And he's already at what, 40? Where is he at now?
43.
42.
42.
No, that's
Man.
a terrible number.
Let me see the pace right now. The pace right
42.
now.
Wow.
Do you know what his pace is?
89.
Not even a third done with the season yet. Is his
Yeah,
pace-
right.
His pace is 145.
Yeah.
145.
I'll say
Well, this
89. Over under.
I think he's
I'll go
over.
over.
This is not a bet,
I'll go over.
Marty.
I'll go over.
This is not a bet, Rick. No, don't worry.
I'm going. This
No
is not
betting.
a bet, right? Correct.
This is not going to cost you $5. No.
I'm going under.
Under 89?
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
They
That's a
may
funk.
need him for more than that. You know that?
Yeah.
Well, he's
They
only
do.
the most he's ever had is 70. Give Wilmer a break.
I know, but he's already, he's halfway there, and they may need him.
Well, I'd love
They
to see him get 100.
They may need it. Wouldn't that be something? Look, when you have a team that goes beyond expectations, crazy things happen. And all of a sudden, the guy could drive and have one of those years. He drives in 107.
I'm going to say, I'll say 90 RBIs for
right.
Wow.
Wilmer.
Yeah, he'll be in the 90s, I think.
I think he's going to have a hard time
Good.
not getting a 90. I mean, they're 46 games in. He's driven in 42 runs in 46 games.
And he's playing.
Wow.
And he's playing every day.
And he's not, the only thing that could stop him is getting hurt.
Right.
Because they
Yeah.
need him.
That's it.
They need the bat. They need him in there.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. This is a good start of the season, 40 to, what are they, 28 and 19?
And that's crazy, that record. And look at the batting averages in the club. It's not like it's crazy. It's crazy compared to some of these other teams.
Well, something special's happening, and
It
it's
is.
in defense, and you get into that 6-inning game, and you can win it, and that's what they're doing. But they're going to have to hit. They're going to have to hit more. They're just going to have to hit more. They are.
Somebody's going to. I mean, of the guys that aren't hitting, somebody's going to have to rise up. I mean, either Lamont Wade, Luis Matos, somebody, Adames, somebody who's hitting 220 is going to have to finish closer to 270.
Yeah, I think Adames has got to be the guy. He's got to. He has to.
Yeah,
All right.
he's the one.
All right, very good, Larry. This is great. I like the post game.
Oh, are you kidding me? You just don't tell anybody you're on.
No, I can't. I cannot tell anyone connected to what that I'm
Yeah.
doing this.
This is all down. This is
Been a
all
pleasure.
down low.
I can't say it on the air. I'm
Been
not
a
allowed.
pleasure
to
yelling for 20 minutes.
I'm not allowed to say it on the air, but I can say it here.
Nice.
Yeah, this is cool. All right, we'll do this again. Post games are fun. They win 3-2. Come on,
They swept.
Swept them.
Swept a good team. They swept a good team, and they swept a good bullpen. And
They only allowed 3 runs from the A's. They only allowed 3 runs.
And Mark Kotze helped them a little bit, I must say.
I'm trying to get tickets for the 4th of July weekend up there in Sacramento. Giants roll into Sacramento on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, 4th of July weekend up there. I want to go check that out.
You should have no trouble doing that. Just call them up and tell them who you are.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I don't know. Maybe I'll have Rick Robin give him a call for me or something. I mean, I need somebody with some real pull.
Rick Robin is the leading contractor in Napa, so believe me, Rick can get it done.
Rick could probably get it done.
All right. Thanks for being on, Eric. Thank you, Rick.
You bet.
Okay? Rick, you survived.
Pleasure. Barely.
All right.
See you
All right.
guys.
We'll take a break. We'll play another couple of spots, and then I'll see you next week. All right.
All
Have a
right,
good
boys.
afternoon. All right. Thanks.
Hey fans, Gene Bagato checked in from Bodega Bay, and he said that with May approaching, up at the Tides they're getting ready for two things in particular. The annual Fisherman's Festival on the weekend of May 3rd and May 4th, and of course Mother's Day on May 11th. On Mom's special day, along with the regular great fare, special menus are being planned to make her day truly memorable. This will be fun. And if you're looking to make it a special weekend, there's the Inn at the Tides with its large, comfortable rooms, all with a bay view. So if you're looking for a great getaway, think no further than the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in scenic Bodega Bay. Fans, great news. If you enjoy Original Joe's, there's a new Original Joe's coming to Walnut Creek, opening late May, early June. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It is going to be fabulous. 300 seats, 13,000 square feet, 3 outdoor patios with 90 outside seats, a full exhibition counter and cocktail lounge. You know, that's the best. And the cocktail lounge will have a multitude of TVs to watch the Giants and the dreaded A's if you want to. It's the first opening of an Original Joe's in 70 years in a new market, and this is really going to be something. 9 years since opening in Westlake, so this is going to be fabulous. It will have a private dining room with accommodations up to 40 people, with its own private bar and patio. It fits Walnut Creek like a glove. This is going to be something else. I can't wait to do some events at the new Original Joe's in Walnut Creek, coming late May, early June. Fans, joining us is Grant Power, President and CEO of Nations. Grant, last year we talked about the amazing breakfast at Nations. I'm going to ask you this. What's your favorite lunch?
You know, I'm pretty split. I guess I'm kind of like a pitcher who has two favorite pitches they like leaning on. I'd say half the time I do the hamburger and half the time I do the wild salmon burger. It really depends on which protein you want. We love our beef supplier in Northern California. We've been with them for decades. We test our beef all the time. We sell ocean caught wild salmon. Friends don't let friends eat farm salmon. It's absolutely delicious. You know, to mix it up, I guess it's like a pitcher who has a 2-seamer and a 4-seamer, or maybe a 4-seamer and a cutter. I actually go grilled onions on my hamburger half the time and raw onions the other half. Today at lunch, I got the French fries, but half the time I get the onion rings, and I had a wonderful slice of pecan pie. There's something for everybody, whether you like hot dogs or grilled cheese. It's really up to the individual what mood they're in, but my go-to is either the beef with the hamburger or the wild salmon, which is absolutely delicious.
Wow, I love it. Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations. Grant, thanks so much.
Pleasure being on.
Thank you kindly. Enjoy the next week. We've got a whole bunch of baseball to speak on here at Marty and Friends. Marty and